We see Alicia. She is standing a few feet from the outline, still in her paint-splattered jeans and shirt. Her arms hang limply at her sides. Her face and hands are smeared with dark. The camera opens on a quiet, softly lit room, the kind meant to soothe. Books line the shelves, and warm lamplight pools on a deep mahogany desk. A man sits in a comfortable armchair, not facing the camera, but angled toward us. He is Theo Faber. He's in his late 30s with an intelligent, watchful face that holds a deep-seated intensity. His gaze is direct, inviting us into his confidence. He begins to speak, his voice a calm, measured baritone. The camera gently pulls back to reveal this is not a therapy session, but a recording. A microphone sits on a small table beside him. Behind him, the spine of a book is visible, The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. Theo's voice. Sit back, relax. Welcome. Today's book is The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. He offers a small, professional smile to the unseen audience. Theo's voice. Some stories grip you not with their action, but with their silence. The Silent Patient is one such novel, a psychological thriller that lures readers into the depths of obsession, trauma, and the fragility of the human mind. The scene dissolves from Theo's study. We see a hardcover book, its jacket stark white with a single slashing paint stroke. The image morphs into a canvas. Theo's voice, VO. Published in 2019, it became an instant bestseller, captivating audiences with its intricate plot and shocking revelations. It's a novel that thrives on uncertainty. We see quick, impressionistic flashes, a woman's hand holding a paintbrush, a drop of crimson falling onto a palette, the blurred outline of a man in a chair. Theo's voice, VO. A carefully woven mystery that keeps readers questioning everything they think they know. The visuals settle on a wide shot of a beautiful, modern London home at dusk. Lights glow warmly from within. It's a picture of perfect, affluent tranquility. Theo's voice, VO. At its core, it is the story of Alicia Berenson. We see Alicia Berenson. She's in her early 30s with a striking, pale face and a cascade of vibrant red hair. She stands before an easel in a sun-drenched studio that overlooks a lush garden. Her expression is one of deep concentration, her green eyes fixed on the canvas. She's beautiful, but there's a stillness to her, a sense of someone who holds worlds inside. Theo's voice, VO. A famous painter who seemingly had it all. A successful career, a devoted husband, a beautiful home. The camera cuts to Gabriel Berenson. He's handsome, charismatic, with a photographer's easy smile. He enters the studio, not interrupting Alicia, but simply leaning in the doorway, watching her work with undisguised admiration. He holds 2 glasses of wine. Theo's voice, VO. But everything shattered one night when her husband, Gabriel, was found shot dead. Inside, the living room is a scene of ordered chaos. Forensic technicians move with silent efficiency. In the center of the room, a chair lies on its side. There is no body, but the evidence is stark. Blood spatter on the wall, a chalk outline on the floor, and Alicia was discovered beside him, gun in hand. We see Alicia sitting on the living room floor, her eyes wide, vacant, staring at nothing. A detective gently pries a revolver from her slack fingers. She offers no resistance. Theo's voice, VO. The most haunting detail: Alicia refused to speak. A police interview room. Alicia sits perfectly still on a metal chair, a blanket around her shoulders. A female officer sits across from her, speaking in low, encouraging tones. Alicia, can you tell us what happened? Please, anything. Alicia's eyes are fixed on the table. Her lips remain sealed. Not a tremor, not a flicker. It is a profound, absolute silence. Not a single word from the moment of Gabriel's murder onward. She was convicted, institutionalized. Quick cuts. The frantic flash of paparazzi cameras outside a courthouse. Alicia, head bowed, then led into a secure van. The heavy gates of a facility. The Grove closing behind her. Branded by the media as an enigma, a woman whose silence was her only answer. A tabloid headline fills the screen. The silent patient. Why won't she speak? The scene shifts back to Theo in his recording room. He leans forward slightly, his elbows on his knees. Enter Theo Faber. He says his own name with a slight, self-aware irony. Theo chuckles slightly. A criminal psychotherapist, determined to unlock Alicia's silence. We see a new Theo, younger, walking down a sterile corridor. He wears a determined expression. This is years later. His obsession with her case bordered on unhealthy. He saw her not just as a patient, but as a puzzle he was destined to solve. Theo sits in a dimly lit library, surrounded by open files, newspaper clippings about Alicia, and art books. His focus is complete. As he dug deeper into Alicia's past, peeling away layers of her life, he began to uncover dark secrets about Alicia, about Gabriel, and even about himself. The visuals become more abstract, more psychological. We see blurred, overlapping images, a child's drawing, a photograph of a smiling couple that slowly cracks, a therapist's notepad with frantic scribbles. What makes The Silent Patient truly compelling is the way Michaelides plays with perspective and truth. We see a handwritten diary entry, Alicia's elegant script. He said he loved me. The paint was drying on the canvas, and all I could think was how the color matched the sky the day my mother died. Theo's voice VO. Alicia's diary entries offer glimpses into her mind, yet they raise more questions than answers. The perspective shifts. We are now looking over Theo's shoulder as he writes in his own journal. His writing is tight, controlled. Session 3. No verbal response, but a change in breathing when I mentioned the painting. Progress, Theo's own narrative, which should feel reliable, begins to twist under the weight of obsession. The camera pushes in on Theo's face in the recording room. His eyes hold a complex mix of professional intrigue and something darker, more personal. With themes of trauma, guilt, and the power of silence, the novel is not just a thriller, it's a deep psychological study of the stories we tell ourselves and the ones we choose to bury. He pauses, letting the weight of his words hang in the air. From its first page, The Silent Patient draws readers into a world where truth is elusive and silence speaks louder than words. And as we step into this story, one thing is certain. He looks directly into the lens, his expression utterly serious. Nothing is as it seems. The screen fades to black for a beat. Then, soft, melancholic piano music begins. The title appears in clean, elegant type. The piano music continues, now accompanied by the soft, rhythmic sound of a brush on canvas. We are back in Alicia's studio, years before the murder. Sunlight streams through the large windows. Alicia works on a large, abstract painting, all swirling grays and blues. She is utterly absorbed. Alicia Berenson had a life that seemed picture-perfect. Gabriel enters, camera around his neck. He comes up behind her, wraps his arms around her waist, and kisses her neck. She leans back into him, a small, genuine smile touching her lips. For a moment, the world is just the two of them, bathed in golden light. Theo's voice VO. She was a renowned painter, admired for her evocative and haunting artwork, married to Gabriel, a successful fashion photographer. A quick montage. Gabriel laughing on a photo shoot in Morocco, directing a model. Alicia at a gallery opening, sipping champagne, her painting Echoes displayed prominently behind her. The two of them cooking together in their sleek kitchen, moving around each other with easy familiarity. Together, they lived in an elegant house in North London. Their life resembled something out of a dream. The montage ends on a static, beautiful shot of their home at night, every window glowing. Theo's voice VO. But dreams can be deceptive. The warm light in the windows seems to dim slightly. The music takes on a faintly dissonant chord. Theo's voice VO. And behind the beauty of their life, something darker was lurking. We see a quick, almost subliminal shot. Alicia, alone in the studio at night, staring out the black window, her reflection looking haunted. Then Gabriel, on the phone in another room, his smile fading, his voice low and tense. We cannot hear the words. Theo's voice VO. Something that no one, not even those closest to them, could see coming. The scene violently cuts. The peaceful night is shattered by the shriek of police sirens. Red and blue lights paint the elegant house in garish, pulsing strokes. The front door hangs broken on its hinges. The murder was as shocking as it was brutal. Inside, the camera moves with the slow, deliberate pace of a forensic investigation. It glides over the expensive furniture, the art, finally settling on the living room. The room is a paradox, tastefully decorated, yet dominated by a horrific central tableau. A heavy wooden chair lies on its side. Around it, on the light-colored rug, is a large, dark stain. Theo's voice VO. Gabriel Berenson was found tied to a chair in their home, his face unrecognizable after 5 gunshots fired at close range. The camera avoids showing Gabriel directly. Instead, it focuses on the details. A discarded length of rope, a single spent cartridge case gleaming under the forensic lights, the terrifying pattern of blood spatter on the wall behind the chair. Theo's voice VO. Alicia, his beloved wife, was standing a few feet away, covered in blood. We find her. She's in a corner of the room, near the fireplace. She is standing perfectly upright, like a statue. Her arms hang limply. Her face, usually so expressive, is a mask of blank shock. Her clothes are dark with blood. Her hands are stained red. Theo's voice VO. The gun, still warm, in her grasp. A detective in latex gloves approaches her carefully. He speaks to her in a calm, steady voice. Alicia, I need you to let go of the gun for me. His hand closes over hers, which is still curled loosely around the revolver's grip. He gently pries her fingers away. The metal clunks dully as he places it in an evidence bag. Alicia's hand remains in the same shape, as if still holding the weapon. Theo's voice VO. She did not scream. She did not plead. She did not try to escape. Her eyes are wide, but they don't see the detectives, the flashing lights, the ruin of her home. They look inward at some unimaginable horror only she can witness. Theo's voice VO. She simply stood there, silent. The camera holds on her face. The silence in the room is deafening, broken only by the crackle of police radios. The case fascinated the public, a rapid-fire montage of media frenzy, newspaper headlines screaming "Painter of Death" and "Beauty and the Beast," television news anchors speaking with grave expressions, talk show panels debating the case. A crowd gathered outside the Old Bailey, cameras flashing. Theo's voice VO. Capturing headlines across the nation. How could Alicia, a woman with no history of violence, a woman who appeared so devoted to her husband, commit such a crime? We see a photo of Alicia and Gabriel on a beach, smiling, used as a before shot on a news broadcast. The contrast is chilling. Theo's voice VO. Beneath the beauty of their life, something darker was lurking. The room is a paradox, tastefully decorated, yet dominated by a horrific central tableau. The scene shifts to the police station interview room. It's later, cleaner. Alicia has been washed, but she wears disposable forensic scrubs. A lawyer, a woman with a pinched, worried face, sits beside her. Lawyer, Alicia, you have to give them something, a reason, self-defense, anything. If you don't speak, they will convict you. Alicia stares at the two-way mirror, her expression unchanged. Her lips remain sealed. Not a single word passed her lips, not to the police, not to her lawyers, not even in her trial. A courtroom. The judge addresses Alicia. Miss Berenson, you have the right to address the court. Do you have anything to say before sentence is passed? All eyes are on her. The camera slowly zooms in on her profile. She does not turn her head. She does not open her mouth. A single tear tracks through the powder on her cheek, but it is the only sign of life. Theo's voice VO. It was as if taking Gabriel's life, she had also taken away her own. The judge pronounces the verdict. Alicia is led away. Her silence is more powerful than any protestation of innocence or howl of guilt.
With no explanation, no testimony, and no defense, Alicia was quickly found guilty. The court ruled she was unfit to stand trial and instead sentenced her to a secure forensic psychiatric unit. We see the exterior of the Grove. It's not a stereotypical asylum. It's a modern, low-slung brick building surrounded by a high wire-topped fence. It looks more like a secure administrative center, which makes it somehow more sinister. Theo's voice VO. The Grove, a facility in North London known for housing the most disturbed criminal patients. A heavy door buzzes and clunks open. Alicia, now in drab institutional clothing, is escorted inside by 2 nurses. The door seals shut behind them with a final metallic sound. Theo's voice VO. There, Alicia was locked away, lost in her silence, as the world continued to speculate about the woman who had once been a rising star in the art world, but was now a prisoner of her own mind. Yet, despite her refusal to speak, Alicia did leave one clue. We are in a stark, white-walled gallery. The room is hushed. In the center of the main wall, spotlit, hangs a single painting. It is Alcestis. The camera approaches it slowly. It is a self-portrait, but unlike any traditional one. Alicia has painted herself from the shoulders up. Her skin is pallid, ghostly. Her vibrant lead hair is rendered as a dark, tangled aura. Her eyes are deep, shadowed pools that seem to look directly at and through the viewer. Shortly after Gabriel's death, while in police custody, Alicia created a painting. It was her only response to the crime, the only time she had communicated anything about what had happened that night. The most horrifying detail is her mouth. It is sewn shut with thick black, X-shaped stitches. The paint is applied so viscerally, the stitches look real, painful. She had titled it Alcestis, a name drawn from Greek mythology. Behind her ghostly visage, faintly suggested in the dark background, is the blurred shape of a man. He is not clearly Gabriel, just a looming masculine presence. In the myth, Alcestis was a woman who sacrificed herself to the underworld in place of her husband, choosing death over allowing him to perish. It was a tragic, selfless act. The camera pulls back to show art critics and the curious public milling before the painting. Their faces show a mixture of awe, fascination, and revulsion. But Alicia's choice of title confused those who tried to analyze it. Was she portraying herself as a victim? A martyr? A well-dressed critic speaks to a journalist, gesturing at the canvas. It's a masterpiece of modern trauma. She has externalized the internal scream. The silencing is both the crime and the punishment. Or was there a deeper, more sinister meaning hidden within the brushstrokes? A different viewer, a younger woman, whispers to her friend, looking unsettled. It feels like a confession, but a confession to what? The painting was met with both awe and horror. Exhibited in a London gallery, it became the centerpiece of an artistic and psychological debate. Critics called it a masterpiece. We see a newspaper art section with the headline, "Berenson's Silent Scream," a masterpiece of pain, an unsettling, enigmatic portrayal of a woman on the brink of something unfathomable. Others saw it as a confession, a tabloid headline, more blunt, "Killer's Canvas." What is she telling us? But Alicia remained silent, offering no answers, leaving the world to make its own interpretations. The image of the painting dissolves into a shot of Alicia's cell-like room at the Grove. She sits on the edge of her bed, in the same position we will later see Theo observe, staring at the blank, padded wall. The vibrant, tortured artist is gone, replaced by a hollow shell. In the years following her institutionalization, Alicia's case faded from the front pages, but it never truly disappeared from public consciousness. The mystery of her silence continued to intrigue journalists, psychologists, and armchair detectives alike. Quick Cuts, a true crime blogger typing, a psychology student using Alcestis as a thesis subject, a podcast microphone with the title The Silent Patient, Episode 7, The Diaries. What could drive a woman to commit such a crime and then refuse to speak of it? Was her silence an admission of guilt? Or was it a form of resistance against an injustice no one had yet uncovered? We see Theo, years ago, in his own flat. He is younger, less assured. He pins a newspaper clipping about Alicia's conviction to a corkboard already filled with notes, timelines, and a printout of Alcestis. He stares at it, his jaw set. Many theories surfaced over time. A television talk show. A panelist, a psychologist, speaks emphatically. Catatonic schizophrenia triggered by an acute stressor. The murder was the stressor. Her mind simply broke. Some believed Alicia had suffered a psychological break, that something inside her had snapped that night, rendering her mute. Another panelist, a former detective, shakes his head. No, it's calculated. The silence is her defense. She's hiding something, and as long as she doesn't talk, it can't be disproven. Alicia is her defense. She's hiding something, and as long as she doesn't talk, it can't be disproven. Others saw her as a confession. Theo mutes the television. He doesn't agree with either speaker. His eyes are fixed on the flickering image of Alicia's painting on the screen. But Alicia remained silent, offering no answers, leaving the world to make its own interpretations. He turns back to his corkboard, tracing a finger from a photo of Alicia to a note about her childhood. There was no progress, no breakthroughs. The mystery of Alicia's silence kept fascinating journalists, psychologists, and armchair detectives alike. The Silent Patient, Episode 7, The Diaries. What could drive a woman to commit such a crime and then refuse to speak of it? Was her silence an admission of guilt? Or was it a form of resistance against an injustice no one had yet uncovered? We see Theo, years ago, in his own flat. He is younger, less assured. He pins a newspaper clipping about Alicia's conviction to a corkboard already filled with notes, timelines, and a printout of Alcestis. He stares at it, his jaw set. Many theories surfaced over time. A television talk show, a panelist, a psychologist, speaks emphatically. Catatonic schizophrenia triggered by an acute stressor. The murder was the stressor. Her mind simply broke. Some believed Alicia had suffered a psychological break, that something inside her had snapped that night, rendering her mute. Another panelist, a former detective, shakes his head. No, it's calculated. The silence is her defense. She's hiding something, and as long as she doesn't talk, it can't be disproven. Others saw her as a confession. Theo mutes the television. He doesn't agree with either speaker. His eyes are fixed on the flickering image of Alicia's painting on the screen. But Alicia remained silent, offering no answers, leaving the world to make its own interpretation. He turns back to his corkboard, tracing a finger from a photo of Alicia to a note about her childhood. The future of Theo Faber. It starts with the present. He turns to a computer, logs into an old email account, and begins typing, "Dear Dr. Knab, regarding the patient Alicia Berenson, I believe I can help." An image of Theo's new work pass for the Grove appears on the screen. He is set to work. We are now fully in the story's present, 6 years after the murder. The style becomes more immediate, following Theo. Theo Faber sits in the office of the clinical director of the Grove, Dr. Lazarus. The office is functional, devoid of warmth. Dr. Lazarus, a man in his 60s with a tired, skeptical face, reviews Theo's CV. Theo was a criminal psychotherapist who had followed Alicia's case from the beginning. He had read every article, studied her trial, obsessed over her painting. Dr. Lazarus: "Your credentials are impressive, Mr. Faber, but your interest in one particular patient is notably specific." Theo meets his gaze evenly. He has prepared for this. Alicia Berenson's case is a profound challenge. Understanding her silence could have implications for treating trauma-induced mutism across the field. I believe traditional methods have failed because they've tried to force her to speak. I propose to listen, to create an environment where speech might become possible again. He sounds convincing, professional. The obsession is carefully buried beneath academic interest. Theo's voice, Theo. He believed that Alicia's silence was not mere defiance or madness. It was a symptom of something deeper, something buried in her past. And he was convinced he was the one who could bring her back. Dr. Lazarus closes the file, his expression unreadable. She hasn't spoken a word in 6 years, not to the most experienced therapists we have. What makes you think you'll be different? Theo allows a small, confident smile. Because I don't believe she's incapable. I believe she's choosing not to. And I want to understand why. Theo's voice, Theo. When a job opening appeared at the Grove, Theo seized the opportunity. It was no accident that he ended up there. He had planned it, maneuvered it,
ensured he would be the one to gain access to Alicia Berenson. Dr. Lazarus sighs, a sound of bureaucratic resignation. Very well, you'll have a standard caseload and Berenson. I'll warn you, the staff call her the Mute. They've given up. Don't be disappointed if you join them. Theo's voice Theo. Others had tried and failed to reach her, but Theo was different. He understood her pain. As Theo leaves the office, his composed mask slips for a second. A flash of triumph, of fierce anticipation crosses his face. He quickly schools his features back to neutral. Theo's voice, Theo. He had battled his own demons, had experienced trauma of his own. He believed that if anyone could make Alicia speak, it was him. He walks down a long, linoleum-floored corridor. The air smells of antiseptic and boiled vegetables. Muffled sounds come from behind locked doors. A shout, a monotone hum. This is his new world. Theo's voice, Theo. Theo's motivations were not purely professional. While he told himself he wanted to help Alicia, there was a deeper, more personal reason for his fascination with her case. A memory, brief and blurry. A younger Theo, a boy, hiding in a closet, hands over his ears. The sound of arguing, something breaking. He shakes his head, dispelling the image. He saw something of himself in her silence, something that called to him in a way he couldn't fully explain. Perhaps he believed in saving Alicia, he could somehow save himself. He arrives at a section of the corridor with observation windows set into the doors. He slows, checking room numbers. He finds the one he's looking for, room 13. A. Berenson. He stops. Through the reinforced glass, he can see into a sparse, clean room. A bed, a desk, a chair, and on the bed, sitting with her back to the door, is Alicia. Theo's voice, Theo. His first day at the Grove was unsettling. The facility was cold, clinical, filled with patients who had long been abandoned by the world. He watches her. She is utterly still. She might be a mannequin. She wears gray sweatpants and a plain t-shirt. Her red hair, though clean, hangs limp. The vibrant woman from the gallery openings is gone. Yet there is a stark, compelling beauty to her stillness, a monument to some private catastrophe. Theo's voice, Theo. His first glimpse of Alicia was through a window as he walked past her room. She sat on her bed, staring blankly at the wall. Her face unreadable. A nurse, a stout woman with a kind face, approaches with a medication cart. First time seeing the famous silent patient? Theo nods, not taking his eyes off Alicia. She's so still. That's her, day in, day out. We bathe her, feed her, take her for walks. She complies, but she's not really here. Hasn't been for years. Don't waste too much energy on her, love. She's a black hole. The nurse moves on. Theo continues to watch. After a moment, as if feeling the weight of his gaze, Alicia's head turns slightly. Not enough to see him, but a fraction. A subtle tension enters her shoulders. Theo's voice, Theo. He could feel the weight of her silence, even from a distance. Theo finally pulls himself away and continues down the hall to a staff meeting room. Several therapists and senior nurses are gathered. The atmosphere is one of weary routine. Theo's voice, Theo. As he walked into the meeting with his new colleagues, Theo knew he was facing an uphill battle. The staff at the Grove had given up on Alicia long ago. A senior psychiatrist, a man named Professor Diomedes, is speaking about a different patient. He notices Theo. Ah, the new man. Faber, is it? Taking on Berenson, I hear. Yes, sir. Diomedes shakes his head. A gesture of pity more than contempt. She won't talk, hasn't spoken a word in years. You won't be the one to change that. The other staff members murmur in quiet agreement. They've seen dozens of Theos come and go, each with a new theory, each leaving defeated. Theo doesn't argue. He simply nods, accepting the truth without accepting its truth. Theo's voice, Theo. He believed that Alicia's silence was not an act of defiance, but a defense mechanism, a shield protecting her from a truth too painful to face. If he could find a way through that shield, if he could uncover what really happened the night Gabriel died, then perhaps he could make Alicia speak again. The meeting ends. Theo returns to the corridor.
pausing once more outside Alicia's room. She has returned to her original position, staring at the wall. Theo speaks softly to himself, or perhaps to her through the glass. But what he didn't yet realize is that some truths are more dangerous than silence. He turns and walks away, his footsteps echoing in the sterile hall. The camera stays on Alicia's still form in the room, a silent siren calling him into the depths. Theo Faber's office at the Grove is small but personal. It's his attempt to combat the institutional sterility. There's a rug, a plant struggling near the window, framed prints of peaceful landscape. On his desk, faced away from the patient's chair, is a small framed photograph of a woman, his wife, Kathy. She is smiling, her face warm and open. Theo is arranging 2 chairs at a slight angle to each other, not directly opposed. He places a box of tissues on a small table between them. He takes a deep breath, centering himself. Theo's voice, Theo Faber was no stranger to broken minds. As a forensic psychotherapist, he had spent years working with patients whose grasp on reality had slipped through their fingers. He had studied delusions, paranoia, and trauma in all its forms, but nothing intrigued him more than Alicia Berenson. There's a knock on the door. A healthcare assistant, Indira, a calm, competent woman, enters with Alicia. "Here she is, Mr. Faber. I'll be right outside." Indira guides Alicia to the chair and gently encourages her to sit. Alicia complies passively, her movements automatic. She sits with perfect posture, her hands folded in her lap. Her eyes are downcast, fixed on a point on the rug. Theo's voice, Theo. Her case wasn't just another professional challenge. It had become an obsession, a puzzle that demanded solving. Indira gives Theo an encouraging nod and leaves, closing the door softly. Theo sits in the other chair. He lets the silence settle. It's not an empty silence. It is thick, heavy with unsaid things. He observes her. She is thinner than in her old photos. Her famous red hair is clean but lifeless. Her skin is pale, almost translucent, but her features are still finely drawn, elegant. Theo's voice, Theo. Alicia had been silent for 6 years. During that time, psychiatrists, lawyers, and journalists had tried to coax words from her, but she remained unmoved. She was locked inside her own mind, beyond reach. "Hello, Alicia. I'm Theo. I'll be working with you from now on." His voice is gentle, neutral, a soft instrument. He doesn't expect an answer, and he doesn't get one. Her expression doesn't change. But Theo believed he could succeed where others had failed. He told himself it wasn't arrogance. He simply understood something they didn't. Alicia's silence was not just an act of defiance. It was a response to something. And if he could uncover the right trigger, if he could unlock the past, she might finally speak. "I've read a lot about you. I know that people have tried to make you talk before. I know that you've chosen silence." He pauses, watching for any micro-expression. A flicker of an eyelid, a tightening of the jaw, nothing. "I'm not here to pressure you. I just want to understand." Still, Alicia gives no indication that she has heard him. She remains perfectly still, a statue in a gray uniform. Theo leans back slightly, adopting a more relaxed posture. He needs to signal safety, not interrogation. Theo's voice, Theo. He observed her carefully. Even in her silence, she was expressive. There was something in the way she held herself, rigid, guarded, a woman who had built walls around herself, walls that no one had yet managed to break through. He decides to change tack. He reaches for his notebook, not to write, but to pull out a sheet of paper he had placed inside. It's a color printout. "I saw your painting, Alcestis." He doesn't hand it to her. He simply places it on the small table between them, facing her. The image of her self-portrait with the sewn-shut mouth lies there. A reaction, small but undeniable. Alicia's fingers, which had been lying still, tightened slightly against each other. Her breathing, which had been shallow and even, hitched for a half-second. Her eyes, still downcast, seemed to focus on the edge of the paper. Theo's voice, Theo. That got a reaction, small but noticeable. Alicia's fingers tightened slightly in her lap. A flicker of something, recognition, discomfort, passed through her expression. Theo notes it, but doesn't comment on it directly. He speaks about the painting as if they are having a normal conversation. It's a fascinating piece, dark but powerful. The title is interesting too. He waits, letting the image do its work. "Do you see yourself as Alcestis?" Nothing. But now the tension in her hands remains. She is now actively not looking at the printout, which is as telling as staring at it. Nothing. But now he was sure of it. She was listening. He lets the silence stretch. This is a therapeutic silence, different from her defensive one. It's an invitation. After a full minute, he speaks again, his voice even softer. "I don't believe you're incapable of speaking. I think you're choosing not to." Her eyes finally move. They lift from the floor and fix a point just over his shoulder. It's not engagement, but it's a shift, a withdrawal from complete internal exile. Still, she remained unmoved. Theo had expected resistance, but he wasn't discouraged. He knew he couldn't force a breakthrough in their first session. Trust would take time, and Alicia was a long way from trusting anyone, but he had planted a seed, and now he had to be patient. He glances at the clock. The session time is almost up. "I'll see you soon, Alicia." He stands slowly, not wanting to startle her. He leaves the printout on the table. He walks to the door and opens it. Indira is waiting outside. As Theo steps out, he glances back. Alicia hasn't moved from her chair, but her head is now turned just slightly, and her eyes are fixed on the printout of Alcestis on the table. She didn't look at him, but as he walked out of the room, he had the distinct feeling that she was watching him. Indira goes in to guide Alicia out. Theo walks down the corridor, a sense of cautious triumph warming him. Back in his office, Theo reflected on their meeting. He knew Alicia's silence wouldn't break easily, but he had sensed something. A shift, however small. The mention of Alcestis had stirred something in her. That was the key. He sits at his desk, opens a fresh notebook, and begins to write. But what exactly did it mean? He decided to dig deeper into Alicia's past. If he was going to help her, he needed to understand her fully, not just the woman she had become after Gabriel's murder, but the woman she had been before it. He pulls a file towards him. It's thick. He opens it to the early biographical section. Her background was well documented. Alicia had lost her parents at a young age. Her mother, Ava, had died in a car accident when Alicia was a teenager. A black and white photograph, clipped to a report, shows a smiling woman who looks like an older version of Alicia. The report states, Ava Berenson, deceased, single vehicle accident. Her father, Vernon, had never been warm or loving. Another photo, Vernon Berenson, a stern, cold-faced man with unsmiling eyes. The file notes, Vernon Berenson, described as emotionally distant, verbally abusive, deceased, natural causes, 5 years prior to incident. Theo finds a transcript from an old social worker interview taken after Ava's death. A line is highlighted. Subject, Alicia, age 16, reports father stated, "I wish you were dead, not her." In fact, he had once told her cruelly that he wished she had died instead of her mother. Theo recognized trauma when he saw it. Alicia's childhood had been shaped by loss and emotional neglect. Theo leans back, rubbing his temples. The pattern is clear. She had married Gabriel young, perhaps seeking the stability and love she had never received from her father. And then, 6 years ago, everything had shattered in a single violent night. He looks at the photograph of Kathy on his desk. Her smile suddenly seems distant. He thinks of his own childhood, the shouting behind closed doors, the need to be silent, to be invisible. A sharp pang of identification with Alicia hits him. He was certain that the answers lay in her past. He needed to find a way in, to unravel her silence one thread at a time. He closes the file, his resolve hardened. He will go beyond the file. He will talk to people who knew her. But as he dug deeper, he couldn't shake the feeling that there was something he wasn't seeing, something hidden beneath the surface, waiting to emerge. He looks out his small window at the high fence of the grove. The sky is a flat, uniform gray, and when it did, it would change everything. Theo is in his flat at night. The room is lit by a single desk lamp. His corkboard is now the centerpiece of the room, a chaotic map of Alicia's life. Photos, news clippings, timelines, and in the center, the printout of Alcestis. Theo's voice, VO. Theo couldn't stop thinking about Alicia's painting. Alcestis was more than just art. It was a message,
a puzzle waiting to be solved. He needed to understand why she had chosen that particular myth. On his laptop, he has multiple browser tabs open: Myth of Alcestis, Greek tragedy and modern art, sacrifice in mythology. He has a notepad filled with scribbles: sacrifice for husband, death instead of him, silence equals death. Who is Hercules? Why that story had resonated with her so deeply that she had made it her sole response to Gabriel's murder. If he could decipher what it meant to her, he believed it could be the key to unlocking her silence. He reads from a website aloud, his voice low. Alcestis was the devoted wife of Admetus, a king fated to die young. When the gods allowed someone to take his place in death, Alcestis stepped forward, offering her life to save her husband's. She descended into the underworld. He trails off, thinking. He looks at the painting, the sewn-shut mouth. Theo's voice, VO. It was a tale of ultimate devotion, of a woman who gave everything for her husband. But how did that connect to Alicia? Was she saying that she had sacrificed herself for Gabriel? That she had died in some metaphorical way the night of his murder? He paces the small room. Theo's voice, VO. Or was it the opposite? Did she see Gabriel as Admetus, the one who had demanded the sacrifice? And if so, was she Alcestis, the willing victim, or was she someone else entirely, someone who had refused to be sacrificed? He stops, staring at the blurred masculine shape behind Alicia in the painting. Is it Gabriel or someone else? Theo felt like he was circling the truth, but it remained just out of reach. The next day, Theo is in a sleek, minimalist art gallery in central London. The space is all white walls and polished concrete floors. This is where Alcestis was first exhibited. The owner, Jean-Félix Martin, greets him. Jean-Félix is in his 40s, impeccably dressed in a way that seems effortless. He has a charming, slightly predatory smile. Jean-Félix, Mr. Faber, a psychotherapist. How fascinating. I suppose everyone wants to know what was going on in poor Alicia's head. His tone is breezy, but his eyes are sharp, assessing Theo. Theo's voice, VO. Determined to learn more, he turned his attention to the people who knew Alicia best. His first stop was Jean-Félix Martin, the owner of the gallery where Alicia had exhibited her work. Jean-Félix had been one of her closest friends, or at least that's how he presented himself. Theo wasn't entirely convinced of his sincerity. There was something slippery about the man, something calculating behind his carefully curated charm. Theo, I'm trying to build a fuller picture of her before, for her treatment. Jean-Félix, of course. Treatment. Come, let me show you something. He leads Theo to a back room, a private viewing area. On the wall hangs Alcestis. Seeing it in person is different. The scale is larger, the textures of the paint more visceral. The black stitches seem to crawl from the canvas. Theo is momentarily speechless. Jean-Félix. She finished it right before she was arrested. It was her last piece. He watches Theo's reaction closely, like a collector observing a bidder. Theo's voice, VO. Theo studied the painting, his mind racing. The stitches over Alicia's mouth. It was too obvious to be a coincidence. She had silenced herself deliberately. The question was, why? Theo, did she say anything about it? When she painted it? Jean-Félix gives an elegant, dismissive wave. Not much, but she was different when she painted it. Distant, almost hypnotized. It was like she was exercising something. Theo turns to him, keenly interested. Exercising what? Jean-Félix meets his gaze, his charming smile still in place, but it doesn't reach his eyes. That's what you're here to find out, isn't it? Theo didn't like the way he said that. He could sense that Jean-Félix knew more than he was letting on. But pressing him too hard now wouldn't get him anywhere. Instead, he filed away the information for later. Theo thanks him and leaves. Jean-Félix watches him go. the smile fading from his face, replaced by a look of cool contemplation. Theo's next visit is to a very different part of London, a row of cramped, slightly run-down terrace houses. He finds the number and knocks. Paul Rose, Alicia's cousin, answers. He's in his late 30s but looks older, worn down by life. He's nervous, his eyes darting. "Mr. Faber? Come in, it's not much." The interior is cluttered and dim. Paul awkwardly clears a stack of magazines from a chair for Theo. Theo's voice, Theo. His next visit was to Alicia's cousin, Paul Rose. Paul lived in a cramped, run-down house on the outskirts of London, a far cry from the elegance of Alicia's old life. He was a nervous man, shifting from foot to foot as he let Theo inside. "I haven't seen Alicia in years. Not since before everything happened." He rubs his hands together, a habitual, anxious gesture. "But you were close when you were younger?" "As close as we could be. Our family wasn't affectionate." That was an understatement. Theo had already uncovered fragments of Alicia's childhood. He needed to hear it from someone who had been there. Theo chooses his words carefully, his therapist's tone gentle and non-threatening. "Her father, Vernon, what was he like?" Paul's face tightens. He looks away, out the grimy window. "He was a bastard." Theo waits, saying nothing. The silence prompts Paul to continue. Paul sighs. He never wanted Alicia. After Eva died, he barely spoke to her, and when he did, it was just to remind her that she was a disappointment. Theo recalled the story from the file. The night her father had told her with cold finality that he wished she had died instead of her mother. The weight of those words must have been unbearable for a teenage girl. Did she ever talk about it? About how that made her feel? Paul hesitates, then shakes his head slowly. "Not really. She never liked talking about the past." A small, bitter smile touches his lips. "But she carried it with her. You could see it in her paintings. Even the happy ones had a shadow." Theo nodded. That fit. Alicia had always communicated through her art. Alcestis wasn't the first time she had used painting to express something unspoken. He wondered how many other buried secrets were hidden in her canvases. Theo thanks Paul and leaves. As he walks back to his car, the pieces feel like they're moving but not settling. A neglected childhood, a father's cruelty, a marriage that looked perfect, a final, violent act, and silence. Theo's voice, Theo. As he left Paul's house, Theo felt the pieces shifting into place. Alicia's silence hadn't begun with Gabriel's murder. It had started much earlier, with a childhood filled with loss and rejection. She had learned long before that fateful night that speaking up only led to pain. Back at the Grove, Theo prepares for his second session with Alicia. He doesn't take his notebook. He only takes one thing: a larger, better quality printout of Alcestis, this one in a simple folder. Theo's voice, Theo. Back at the Grove, Theo prepared for his next session with Alicia. This time, he wouldn't push her to speak. Instead, he would show her that he understood, that he saw her. Indira brings Alicia in. She sits in the same chair, assumes the same posture. Theo sits down. He doesn't speak immediately. He simply opens the folder on his lap and, after a moment of silence, slides the printout onto the table between them. He doesn't explain it. He just lets it lie there. Alicia's eyes are on her lap. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, her gaze lifts. It travels across the surface of the table and lands on the image. She stares at it, at her own tormented, silent face. Theo's voice, Theo. Alicia's eyes flickered to it, just for a moment. Theo speaks, his voice barely above a whisper. "You don't have to say anything, but I want you to know I'm listening." He isn't looking at the painting. He is looking at her. He watches as her chest rises and falls with a slightly deeper breath. He watches as her eyes, which had been dull and dead, seem to sharpen, to focus on the painted stitches over the mouth. Then she looks up. Not at the painting, but at him. Theo's voice, Theo. For the first time, Alicia looked at him. Not a glance, not a passing flicker, but a real, steady gaze. Her green eyes meet his. They aren't blank. They are full of a terrible, locked-in intelligence. They hold pain and fear and a question so profound, it shakes Theo to his core. In that look, she is present. For the first time in 6 years, Alicia Berenson is there. Theo's voice, Theo. And in that moment, Theo knew. She had something to say. The session time ends. Indira knocks and enters. As she guides Alicia out, Alicia's eyes break from Theo's and return to the printout on the table. She allows herself to be led away, but her head is held slightly differently, not defeated, alert. Theo remains seated, his heart pounding. He looks at the empty chair, then at the painting of the woman with the sewn-shut mouth. Theo's voice, Theo, he just had to find a way to hear it. A slow, determined smile spreads across Theo's face. The obsession has solidified into a mission. The wall has cracked. Now he must break it down. Theo, to himself, softly, I can feel it. I'm getting closer. The camera holds on the printout of Alcestis, the black stitches stark against the pale, painted skin. The silence in the room is no longer empty. It is charged, waiting.